Hey everyone, Andy Hall here with my Jenga tower, my third and last cup of coffee of the day. Righty and lefty, as always. We have the mirror, and of course we have the tower. All right, coffee's got to go into the splatter zone, out of the splatter zone. To tell you the truth, I think I'm going to go with righty because yesterday I just used my left hand on the tower. Today, hey. Yes, I thought it was a pretty funny, satirical story. And, I write to irritate large groups of people and to make a point, too, to tell you the truth, Tobin. Glad to see that you're here, sir. I just finished listening to, I went out for a walk earlier today, and I think it was a Hidden Brain episode on the podcast, the Hidden Brain episode about change. And as many of you know, I'm interested in why and how people change. And the episode was about starting over, and what was the name of the effect? It was, got to get some coffee into my brain for me to think right. It was basically about starting over. I'll think of the particular effect, the name of the effect, in like a minute or two, probably. I think Biden is surely going to give a COVID announcement. Oh, really? You think so? Imaginary God. Well, a couple of new economic numbers came out today, and they didn't look good. About the unemployment rate, mortgage rates, I think, too. So the nightmare scenario, economic nightmare scenario, of course, is to have interest rates and inflation pop up while unemployment is incredibly high. That would be one of the economic nightmare scenarios. And of course, the market is just kind of overreacting to it. I think this is a legal move. I think that's a legal move. I don't know. All right, I'm going to take some more coffee. Nothing wrong with that. How people change, that's right. So I think it's called something along the lines of starting over, the starting over effect. About what happens when people start up a new behavior. And, there are a variety of reasons about the data shows. And like I said, it's a Hidden Brain podcast I was listening to, which is a good podcast in case you're not, subscribed to it. It's worth your time. And it turns out that people who religiously do certain behaviors, like let's say I work out at 9 o'clock every day, and if the goal is, let's say, weight loss, right? It isn't the people who do the same behavior every day and make it a religious habit that do the best. it turns out that people who are willing to be flexible or who are flexible in obtaining the goal are the ones who are most likely to meet that goal. That was one of the findings that I got from the podcast episode. Do the arguments really work? Yeah. Do arguments actually work? In terms of behavior change, I think, there is this concept, right, which I subscribe to, that we don't know why, or people intuitively don't know. We may think we know why we do the things we do, but when you start looking at the science, there are a lot of these unconscious unconscious variables that actually cause people or nudge people in certain directions, right? We were talking about it the other day. Putin is getting cranky. You're right about that. Putin is getting cranky. So it's interesting to figure out why people decide or change their behavior. It's like we were talking the other day about Trumpsters, Trump supporters who are deciding to get the vaccine now. It's like, the reason why they're changing their behavior more than likely is because of the fact that the people around them are getting vaccinated, as against to this calm reflection about the data. The certain clique that you're running with, the certain group of people that you surround yourself with, they are by far a stronger effect. They produce a stronger effect on a person's behavior than that person able to look at data and change their behavior due to the new data that they're in. What's up, Tons Mice? Kitty Chowder. Hello, Block Tower building fans. Indeed, Simply Secular. So it turns out, and here's a deep hack, actually, from this episode of Hidden Brain that I'm talking about behavior change, is that if you're looking to try to get someone to do a new behavior, or to try to do a new behavior, if you're looking for someone to sign up for, let's say, getting into their company's 401k plan or some other kind of behavior, it's best to do it around their birthday, to do it on their birthday or on the first day of spring. So if you're looking to try to get someone to do like a behavior change, to sign on the dotted line on something, to make a change for the best, or to agree to make a change or try to change, it's their birthday. It isn't New Year's Eve, isn't New Year's Day. It's actually their birthday and the first day of spring. Those are the days that people like to try. They like to make a commitment on those days. I don't know, this is already wobbly. It isn't even like super tall either. More coffee. More coffee makes brain be better brain. That's what I think, at least. Have I told you guys about Schachter's two-tier theories of emotion? These are the things I usually talk about when I'm drunk. I'm hanging out with my friends or with new people. I'm sure I must have brought it up on Atheist Drinking Out Loud a couple of times. But this is how much we don't understand our own behavior. Would you like to join the Tupperware group? We'll sell overpriced Tupperware that you'll never sell to anyone else. Indeed. If you want to get someone to sign up on the Tupperware group, tell them this is the change you need to do. Though this is a good change, and say it on their birthday. And they'll be like, yeah, I'll be part of your Tupperware group. It's life transformational. But Schachter's two-tier theory of emotion. So Schachter's two-tier theory of emotion is the reason why some people like dating a-holes. Why some people like dating a-holes is Schachter's two-tier theory of emotion. Because basically what happens, right, is that all emotions are physiologically the same, right? The heart beats faster, your hands get sweaty, you get the feels in your belly. Doesn't matter which emotion it is. Hate, love, fear, physiologically speaking, they're very similar. So, Schachter's two-tier theory of emotion states that you start getting the physiological response first, you look out into the environment, and then you develop a theory of why you're feeling this particular way, right? You developed, and this is also explains why people like bullies too, or why people like Trump, or some people like Trump. So what happens is that in the case of people falling for bullies or getting romantically involved with a-holes, is that they start having this feeling, this physiological response around this person, right? Because this person shakes things up. They stir the pot. And so, this other person feels this physiological response, and they say to themselves, oh, I must be in love with this person who causes this kind of physiological response in me. I must be in love with them. And that's how they catch feelings. And this explains why there's so many comedians with really attractive girlfriends. This is why there are so many comedians out there who are really unattractive physically, but date way outside their league. It's because comedy, much like being an a-hole, creates these physiological responses in other people. And then at a certain point, this particular person will say, oh, I must be in love with this person, or I must be attracted to this person. Yeah, right, dude? And actually, Ovid, I believe it's Ovid in the early Roman Empire, he wrote this he wrote about a bunch of things, but he said the best way to pick up a woman, right, is to bring her to the Colosseum, place a nice cushion on her seat so she can sit down. And what will happen is that she will look at the games at the Colosseum, and then she will associate those feelings with you and think that, hey, I must be in love with him, or I must be attracted to him. And that's also, by the way, why nice people typically don't do well, or at least not nice people, but very passive people don't do well in many romantic situations, is because they don't create a physiological effect. Once I found this rule, my friends, it was explained to me, and I believe it was in a social psych class, I'm like, oh my fictitious God, it all makes sense. Always bring a cushion. Tons of mice. Always bring your towel. Always bring a cushion. See, now I really want to see what the name of that effect was from Hidden Brain, that podcast. Give me a second, guys. And I'm going to find out what it is. A fresh start. It's called the fresh start effect. So when you're making a fresh start, the fresh start effect, it's interesting. There was this study about Major League Baseball players, right? And there is a fresh start effect for Major League Baseball players who get traded in the midseason. So if you're not doing well and you get traded to another league, so you have National League and American League, right? So if you get traded, let's say you're a batter, you hit, and you get traded to another league, your batting average becomes 0. It becomes clear. You get a clear state. you start off from 0. And that means that if you haven't been doing well, you will suddenly do well. You will be, so let's say you were only hitting 225 in the National League, you get traded into the American League. Well, your batting average on the whole will go up. That is typically some kind of placebo effect in your head, because you're thinking, hey, I get a blank slate. I get a fresh start. And so if you're not doing well and you get traded to a different league, your batting average will go up. However, if you're already doing well and you get traded, you won't do as well. You'll see it. You'll perceive it as getting your rhythm distracted, as your rhythm getting broken. And so you will not do as well. And that's what I heard. That's what I learned today on the Hidden Brain, the podcast. Now then, maybe this is an extrapolation. Maybe it isn't. But I feel that after I've gotten out of toxic relationships, I have personally done better. That probably has a bunch of other confounding variables. Maybe it isn't a fresh start effect. I'm not sure. I'm going to share that one. That is words of wisdom there, my friend. I've heard that tampons have been used for gunshot wound plugs. That's what I've heard. Hey, Robert X. Now, has there been documented evidence of such products being used to really provide good first aid treatment, simply secular Dave? I mean, is that really useful? Has it proven to be effective? Oh. The whole tower didn't fall down. See, but this one, what is it? You can see it right here. There's a block that just wants to escape. It wants to escape. And I'm going to let it be free. Oh, interesting. I've never used one, but every CDN medic in Afghanistan carries them. That's interesting. I have a comedian buddy who's going to be on the channel soon, Nathan Temple. He's done a variety of comedy shows. I believe it was in Iraq. And he has a bunch of stories from his time entertaining the troops. I'll ask him the next time I talk to him about the tampon. Hey, Kevin Chaos. His name is Kevin. He has chaos. Or he is chaos, maybe. All right. Taking out this bottom one. I probably shouldn't be taking out this bottom one, but I'm going to do it anyway. Woohoo! Didn't fall. Not unhappy. Feeling pretty saucy, pretty cheeky about this tower. That's not going to work. That's going to work. maybe, possibly, could be. Shazam. Just like that. So I was at the graveyard today. I decided to go out for a little ride. There's the Mount Auburn Cemetery, which is a beautiful cemetery. I took a walk around there today. Very nice. Got my Zen on. Got my centered myself. And who am I kidding? I'm really just using that time to think about crappy jokes. I actually found the grave, or saw the grave, of the person who started off Tufts College over here down the street from us. You got me riled up this morning talking about New Hampshire and tiny homes. Yeah. You know, I've heard other stories about communities not being pro tiny homes. And, that's what it is. I think what it boils down to is that communities don't want to lose, the taxes of these little homes. You think about it. If people are moving from even if they're moving from a 600 square foot apartment down to a 200 square foot tiny home, that's a lot of property taxes community is going to be losing out on. But of course, the system, the way that the economy is, the way that our system is that people, more and more people need to downsize. They can't afford the McMansions. They can't afford rent. I mean, rent in Boston is notoriously insane. And a lot of middle-class families can't afford living in major cities. And that's where all the work is, right? Please get your future cat a tiny home, like a really tiny but a house-shaped home. I will talk to my girlfriend about this and put that under advisement. I'm not against having a tiny home for my cat. A cat home. And not just a box either, but a proper home. The cost of living is ridiculous, yeah. When I got divorced, I bought a condo, the condo that I always talk about, right? But it was in a squirrely area, let me tell you. I told people where I was living, where I lived back in my own city, my old city that I grew up in Brockton, and they're like, well, why are you moving there, Andy? It's like cheap property, that's why. Super cheap property. Ceteris paribus. I like the Latin. All other things being equal. That's right. House in Vancouver sold last week for $2.6 million. It was a tear down and had been inhabited by squatters, and it still went for $2.6 million, huh? That's a good hunk of change. But there's a prediction that there's going to be a lot of people moving outside of the city just because of their experiences during COVID. And if more people don't have to live in the city to work, if they're doing more distance stuff, if they don't have to go into their office, then possibly urban real estate will go down. The price of urban real estate will go down. And hopefully there'll be a lot more business real estate converted to residential use, because if companies don't need the real estate, to do their business, then possibly some of that can be, converted to housing. See, that's going to just make the tower fall. I see what you did there. Tons of mice. Snort. Well, I know, it's funny we should talk about Canadian money, right? I know that when my girlfriend and I have looked at moving to Canada, there's a point system. We all know, most of us know that there's a point system. And if you have a certain amount of money, nope. Oh, wow. Danger averted. But there is if you have a certain amount in assets, then you're more, the Canadian government's more willing to have you, live in the country. It makes sense. But I think that's in Canadian money, to tell you the truth. And it's still a high amount, but it's not a crazy high amount. Oh, look at that. It's Neil's joke. Oh, right. Nope. See, it's very sensitive, this tower. It's very sensitive. Nope. Well, that was it. I'm going to gather up the blocks and get ready for another tower. I feel like that was not my best tower. That was not my best self. They are represented in that tower. All right. We put together a falling Jenga tile compilation. I could do that. Yeah, that's not a problem. Not a problem at all. Just be one Jenga tower falling after another. Would not be too hard to do at all. Oh, he's speaking on COVID right now. Well, imaginary God, you can keep us updated. Push, indeed. Simply Secular Dave. A big push. I will say that this room is bad for acoustics since it's nothing but hard surfaces in here, but it does make an incredible crashing sound. Oh. I heard rumors that they're coming up with a Simpsons prequel show that features Homer in the 90s, in the 1990s. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be any good. Sounds rather dicey. Even though the Simpsons have been on forever. Really, and when you think about it, the Simpsons are a spin-off show. They started off on the Tracy Ullman show back in the day, right? Those primitive cartoons on her show. But the Simpsons haven't tried doing any spin-off shows on their own, so this will be their first attempt. I bet that would just be a cascade if you added one that has fallen. Yeah. I like cascades. Yeah. Waterfall cascades, I'm a big Cascade guy. You know, aesthetically pleasing. That's what I find Cascades. Aesthetically pleasing. All right. How's that? All right. Lefty this time. Oh, I've got to bring the camera down. Take my cup of coffee. It's wrong at the top. Yes, fixed. I did notice that. Fixed it. All right. So my divorce day is coming up. The celebration of my anniversary of my divorce. That is April 1st. By the way, you can send all your prayers and thoughts of celebratory prayers and thoughts that day. I've been divorced for 6 years now. Yeah, 6. I find an immense amount of humor and satisfaction that I walked out of the court free man on April 1st. Biden has announced that Washington Memorial will be replaced by a giant Jenga tower. Well, you know, that's a good question, Tobin. Does it follow building codes? You see, there are no building codes for the Jenga tower, so that means you cannot build a Jenga tower unless you get a permit, depending on the building code. But there are no building codes. See, that sounds like some kind of Kafka-esque doublespeak. If you were trying to build a tiny house there in Petersboro, New Hampshire. I was talking with my buddy Jack, Satanist Jack, and the Satanic Temple is doing a conference in a couple of weeks on moral panics. I'll give you guys more information about it as I find out. They already have the date set up. It's a virtual conference, of course. But moral panics, I'm intrigued by them, having lived through, as we all have, lived through several moral panics. QAnon being a moral panic. I was too young for McCarthyism. But there are definitely people still alive today who remember that moral panic. Tipper Gore, the moral panic. So the Satanic Temple is doing a full-day conference on moral panics coming up in a few weeks. I will say what's nice about YouTube, as against to my blog, is that moral panic, we can't take a warning. Yep. Well, the nature of moral panics is just to make a bigger moral panic. It isn't actually, the nature of panic in general isn't there to help. What's the rule? Don't panic. The Douglas Adam saying there from Hitchhiker's Guide, don't panic. But yeah, the nature of moral panics is just to make more moral panics, or just to increase the panic. You ever notice that there's no such thing as moral, relax, and chill? You ever notice that? It's just moral panic. Just like that. So my girlfriend made this really good vegetarian shepherd's pie last night. We had that for St. Patrick's Day. And then we listened to Celtic Sojourn. We streamed that show from 7:30 to 9 last night. And that was fun. Listened to some good Celtic music. Oh, I'm good at moral chill code. Yeah, moral chill mode. I try to be. How do you sell more panic rims? More panic. That's right. Nope. Oh, I caught it. Does that count? Does that count if I caught it? Does that mean I can just try to reset it? No, Andy, that doesn't work like that. Oh, I had such a good Jenga day yesterday, and now I'm regressing towards the mean, right? Oh, I sucked at statistics when I was in college, but I learned some basic principles. And those principles are just ones that you can just explain to a person in like 1 or 2 sentences. And one of them is regression towards the mean. All right, one more tower. One more tower. I feel like I need to redeem myself. Reset, exactly. God bless America. Home, sweet home. You know, just around the house, when I'm just hanging out, I'll just break into songs, but I'll sing it like Cartman from South Park. God bless America. You know, I'll just like that. And I don't even know why. And I think I've said this before. I don't even know why the South Park guys don't have an album of Cartman just singing greatest hits. I think that'd be hilarious. All right. Get my Jenga brain on here. Bring it down. Bring the camera down to earth, Andy. That's what you got to do, right? And we'll go with that. Yeah. Was it one of his fireside chats, like everyone chill out, we got this under control kind of thing? My friend Erica says, your house, your blocks, your rules. Elevate the block horse. Very nice. All right. Lefty, do your job. Keep washing your hands, unlike what Jesus recommends. Indeed. Well said, imaginary God. Yeah, Biden's out and about right now trying to get people to get the vaccine and trying to, I think he's heading down to Georgia. He might be in Georgia at this point. He's trying to promote the new vaccines or people to get the vaccine. Carmen singing that song was epic. Oh yeah. That Styx song, right? That was that was good. Oh man. I want is ASAP. When I'm thinking about Biden going down to Georgia, I cannot help but think of Kennedy going down to Houston, or was it Dallas? Where did Kennedy get shot? In Dallas? I think it was Dallas. It's like, Mr. President, the Texans don't like you, or a certain element of Texans don't like you. I would say, I would offer the same to Biden going to Georgia. It's like, President Biden, there's a lot of people in Georgia who don't like you. Is it wise for you to travel down there? I would be skeptical about going down there myself. It's like Archduke Francis, right? His assassination set off World War I. You can make an argument that his assassination caused World War I and World War II. And the guy, bad travel plans. Bad travel plans have caused more trouble in the world than anything else. Archduke Francis goes into like an area that that a lot of people don't like him. Gets shot, assassinated. Kennedy goes to Texas where he knows a lot of people don't like him, rides around in an open car, gets shot. So bad travel planners, that's what it is. Bad travel planners have caused much grief in this world, my friends. Ferdinand, that's right. Archduke Ferdinand. The funny thing about his killer, Princep, Princep. I forget his first name. He was trying to kill him along with a bunch of other guys. And he failed. Princep. He failed the first time, or he didn't get his moment. He didn't get a clear shot. So then, this is a true story, by the way. So Archduke Ferdinand was in his car, and they were in the street, and they had it go in reverse. But I guess cars back then had difficulty going in reverse. So his car was stalled out. So Princep, he was literally coming out eating a sandwich. He was getting a sandwich. This would-be assassin of Archduke Ferdinand, who didn't get a shot the first time. He's literally coming out of a shot. He had just eaten his sandwich, or he had the sandwich in his hand, and all of a sudden he comes out and he says, "Who's there in front of him?" It's Archduke Francis, the person he's supposed to kill. Takes out his gun and just start blazing. That's how I understand the story. It was on Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. I heard that. It's just a freakish incident. And that's how a lot of history is. It's just like these odd so-called chance occurrences. Of course, if you do something stupid like Archduke Francis, there's a much higher chance of something bad happening. But yeah, his assassin and him just happened to meet on that street. He was stuck in his car, and dude just came out of a sandwich shop thinking he wasn't going to kill him. Really, my surrounding area, there are many Biden signs in Texas. It's pretty mixed passing houses down here. Yeah. Serbian, the Black Hand. That's right, the Black Hand. Yep. Yeah, it was. It's an interesting story how the assassination actually occurred, and of course, from what I understand too, they were a real conspiracy. When I talk about real conspiracies, I believe the Serbian intelligence services supported the Black Hand. And this is the crazy thing about conspiracy theories, right? About stupid QAnon crap and Bigfoot, whatever. It's like they're real conspiracies. You just have to think, you just use your brain. See, here's the problem. Use your brain and just look into them, and you'll see that there are some real things that have happened. The U.S. overthrew the Iranian government back in the 70s. That's something that really happened. That is a real conspiracy. QAnon, not a real conspiracy. He went for the Texas barbecue. Yep. Yeah, that's basically it. The car made the wrong turn, and the assassin got lucky. Interesting. Interesting. Then got turned into nuggets, indeed. I believe Kennedy wanted NASA to be up here in the Cambridge area, right? Because he's a Boston guy, or he's a Massachusetts guy, Kennedy. But after his assassination, LBJ decided to put NASA down in Houston. I have to tell you, if NASA ever was, if NASA was in Cambridge, which is the next city over here, it would have been crazy. There's not enough land, not enough area for that kind of stuff. All right, I'm going to crank up this tower a little bit more. So I'll move this one. Oh yeah, Ferdinand's wife was also killed. Well, she died first, I guess, right? She died first. Garfield was on. From the look of him, Garfield, he looked like he struck me as a fellow who liked his ham and rye. Didn't he get assassinated at the World's Fair? That's rummaging around my head somewhere. Well, I don't know about Mr. Lincoln. He might have been getting what? Yeah, she died first, right? Robert X. Sophie, that was her name. Sophie, Archduke Francis's wife. Sophie, think about the children. You cannot die. Something like that. That was Ferdinand's words to her, or maybe it was to him. No, I think it was to her. Yeah, Sophie, do not die. Think about the children. Sad, sad. And the thing is, right? If you know this about Archduke Ferdinand, Archduke Francis, is that he wanted to make the Austro-Hungarian Empire into like the United States of America. He wanted to make the empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, into a federated state where different nationalities would have their own semi-autonomous, areas. Because the Austro-Hungarian Empire was a mess. It was just a freaking mess. Yeah. Well, there is something to be said about the Serbians causing trouble. There is a case to be made about the Serbian secret police causing troubles. McKinley only left home because the new subways opened. Say what you will about Subway. They do offer an inexpensive sub. Oh man, my coffee's gone. That's a drag. Not happy with that. Should just have a coffee pot constantly going here. was trying to convince my girlfriend to train with me to get on Jeopardy, right? I've only taken the Jeopardy test once, never got a call. But after talking with him last Sunday, I'm like, I could train up for Jeopardy again. Get all ready with my, focus on the categories I suck at, like opera, Jane Austen. I don't know if she's going to be too. She didn't seem to be too warm on the idea. They're going to float it by her again. Well, to live is to hope. Maybe this tower will be a respectable tower. That's all I'm looking for. I don't need it to be great. I don't need it to be perfect. I just want for it to, to feel like I gave it my best shot. That's what. Well, the funny thing about Archduke Ferdinand Francis was that I think they were doing some kind of military parade that day for celebrating an Austrian defeat of the Serbs. It was like it was tone deaf. It was tone deaf. So it was, it was not the best planning on his part or his people's part. And the only reason why the Austrians declared war on the Serbs is because Germany had given them 100% backing. Like Kaiser Wilhelm gave the Austrians basically a blank check saying, we will back you up no matter what you do. And that's bad policy. It's a bad policy, whether you're talking about you're backing up your buddy. Your buddy's getting himself into trouble intentionally, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to back you up 100%. It doesn't matter what you do. That's a bad personal policy. And for one country to say to another country, we will support you regardless of what you do, that's bad. That's what we call a miscalculation. Yeah, well, everyone. Well, the Germans. The Germans had to have had a plan because, in World War One, once again back to World War One, they had gotten themselves previous to World War One. They had gotten themselves out of a treaty with Russia, the Three Emperors Treaty, the Three Emperors Agreement, and so that caused Russia to gravitate into the French, into some kind of secret alliance with the French. And so the Germans were preparing to fight a conflict on two fronts. And so they needed a plan. And everyone had a plan for all intents and purposes. They all had these mobilization timelines and schemes and plans. And so on how to win the war quickly. You look at a lot of the plans or planning in general. What is a good plan versus a bad plan? A good plan is when you expect to run the table, right? You expect to run the table, and the fact that, we just have to do this perfectly well, and then we'll do this perfectly well, and then we'll do this perfectly well. That's planning to run the table like that, and that's your plan. That's a bad plan. Like for the Germans to have won in the West, they would have had to have run the table. They would have had to have done their timeline right to the minute. And there are just too many things they had to get completely right to win. Oh, that didn't work well. Yeah, Kaiser was, he had problems. It's almost as if Hereditary Kings is a bad plan. It's monarchy. Monarchy is a crappy way to run a country. Almost as if that's the fact. All right, everyone. So that was it. That was it for me. That's it for the tower. The third tower was the best of the towers, I think, today. So, hey, I'm going to show that video again of thanking my patrons, because I think that's what I should do. I'm a non-traditional blogger and I'm a non-traditional YouTuber. Obviously, I'm doing this, but people do support me, and I want to say thanks to them. Yeah, man, I could talk about World War I, World War II till like forever. And actually, I just finished up. I'm about to finish up a series on the Napoleonic Wars. Many hours of viewing. So I'll probably be littering my historical references with Napoleon pretty soon too. Yay, right? That'll get the kids watching. That'll make people interested in the channel. All right, everyone. I'm going to say thank you to my patrons, and then I'm out. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., 3 p.m. I might drop a short sometime between here and there. I don't know. Be strong.